With the median U.S. home price pushing toward $400,000, buying a traditional house locks you into 3 decades of heavy, unavoidable debt. That crushing financial weight is exactly why the alternative housing movement has exploded in popularity. It looks like a clean escape hatch. Social media feeds us a highly polished fantasy: pristine, modern cabins nestled in sunlit forests, completely detached from the grid and the bank. But as this graphic states, there is no cheat code for housing. Escaping the traditional mortgage simply changes the currency you use to pay. You stop handing a bank your capital and instead pay with geographic constraints, spatial claustrophobia, or intense legal friction. To understand how this works, we have to look at this breakdown comparing 3 popular alternative architectures: tiny homes, earthships, and shipping container homes. Surviving an alternative build requires looking past the aesthetic hype. You must evaluate exactly which type of hidden cost you are actually equipped to handle. Let's start with the tiny home on wheels. This involves taking a traditional floor plan and radically shrinking it down to under 400 square feet, usually built directly on a trailer frame. Compared to a nearly $400,000 median home, a tiny house costs just $30,000 to $60,000. Its ultra-low volume also collapses utility bills, requiring only 7% of the energy of a traditional house, which is easily covered by solar. Wheeled structures are mostly illegal to live in full-time on private property, threatening fines of $500 a day. This forces stealth living, where owners report heavy psychological strain from the severe lack of space and strict daily organization required. You get the lowest financial barrier to entry, but you pay for that freedom every single day with intense legal anxiety and spatial restriction. If you want total, off-grid self-sufficiency without the utility bills, the architectural answer is often the Earthship. The core engine of this design relies on massive, U-shaped load-bearing walls. Instead of using standard wood or concrete, these are constructed entirely from discarded tires packed tightly with rammed earth. This cross-section diagram illustrates how those earth-packed walls function as a massive thermal battery. They absorb solar radiation passing through the front glass during the day, and then passively radiate that heat back into the living space at night. Looking at the water systems, you can see how an Earthship recycles gray water 4 separate times through internal botanical cells. This achieves 95% water reuse efficiency before routing to the toilet. But that ecological independence requires an immense physical toll. Packing those curved walls with mud and earth is a brutal, manual process. A standard build requires hand packing over 1,000 tires, an exhausting burden, pushing timelines out to 2 years. They're also strictly bound to arid, high desert environments. Building in humid regions guarantees severe moisture failures and mold. You achieve unmatched ecological independence, but the true price is years of back-breaking physical labor and permanent geographic lock-in. For builders who want to avoid a multi-year construction process, the shipping container trend offers a fast industrial upcycle. This exploded view details the core appeal. You start with a prefabricated Corten seal structure that provides immediate earthquake and wind resistance, allowing you to deploy a basic shell in just weeks. As this diagram shows, bare steel is a highly conductive heat sink, turning the interior into an unlivable oven or freezer. The mandatory fix is applying closed-cell spray foam, acting as a vital vapor barrier to prevent the steel from sweating and failing. Adding foam to a narrow 8-foot container severely restricts the footprint, creating a tight, claustrophobic tunnel. Furthermore, the original wood floors are often soaked in hazardous fungicides and lead-based paints that require intensive, expensive remediation. You get unparalleled construction speed and an indestructible frame, but pay a massive premium to fight the thermal physics of steel and strip industrial chemicals. Since there is no flawless building method, a successful build depends entirely on accurately matching your personal limits to the correct architecture. This alternative housing matrix objectively breaks down the distinct benefits and the brutal barriers of all 3 options side by side. If your absolute priority is low cost and high mobility, the tiny home is the optimal path, provided you have the risk tolerance to navigate restrictive local parking and zoning laws. If your goal is 100% off-grid thermal efficiency, the Earthship delivers. assuming you live in an arid climate and have years to spend on grueling manual labor. If you prioritize construction speed and a highly durable structure, the container home works, as long as you have the capital to fund expensive, specialized thermal insulation. Optimizing for any single metric mathematically guarantees a significant sacrifice in another area of your build. The housing cheat code doesn't exist. Your job isn't to find a flawless system. It's to make a clear-eyed decision about the specific type of friction you are most willing to endure.